I've even got my hat on. Should just keep the hat off, shouldn't I? Just fucking shows you how bad a morning I'm having. But anyway, we talk about the Dundee. Should we boycott? Should we not boycott? Let me just go in for this. Start a poll this morning. Now, I'm not doing this to try and devalue the campaign. I'm putting this poll out there this morning to try and get a feel for the overall fan base, because it's fine people standing in a room and saying let's boycott it and then going back to their members and all the rest of it. But let's see what people are saying this morning. We'll jump into that. Should we boycott the Dundee game? Now, I know that Celtic Fans Collective had a vote for it and they wanted to go for it, but I know that there are a lot of people that don't think that boycotts work. So I'm just putting this out there. I am not doing this to create division. I think that the division's already there. I'm just purely putting this out on the channel to get a feel for other fans that maybe weren't at the Celtic Fans Collective meeting and the wider audience. That's the only reason I'm doing it. And I can understand why they want to do it. I mean, we can go into the boycott. And there was, the reason I'm asking is because there was at the meeting, there was someone from the Irish Supporters Association, and he said that he couldn't vote on such a thing, and fair play to him. And the reason that he couldn't vote for such a thing, because he's speaking on behalf of fans and clubs that maybe booked tickets, booked flights, booked ferries months in advance to come to this game. Do you know? I know it's a cup game, but do you know sometimes they only come to a game once in a while, so it's unfair of them. But anyway, let's read what the Celtic Fans Collective put out yesterday. Why is the boycott being called? The boycott has been called. We know why it's been called. Well, what will the boycott achieve? A successful boycott will be a huge visual demonstration to the boards of a level of fan frustration and their governance of the club. Keep talking about governance in the club and stuff. And what if I wanted back the team? And there you go. I'll let you read it. Let's need to go to the second page. What if I've already spent money on tickets and travel? Many supporters are in that position. Unfortunately, an ideal world decision would have been taken earlier to avoid expense. Had a league match been chosen, season tickets holders would have been left out of pocket. But the money for the cup game's already come out as well. So, anyway. There we go. Even in their own statement, they're not convinced. I mean, this one, what does a successful boycott look like? Boycotts are traditionally difficult to achieve, especially with the Celtic supporters, as history proves. They know it doesn't work when you've got fans coming from all over the country are not going to fucking just stand outside and or not even travel to the game when they've already ordered buses and paid for buses and stuff. But anyway, we'll wait and see what happens. Maybe we'll wait and see what happens. Let's back up into this screen. We get some of the comments. Chris coming in from Australia. Hello, all. Boycott the collective. They're not fit for purpose. How can you be a supporter when you don't want to show support? Fucking numpties. Hope you're good, Chris. I meant to get back to you yesterday, but I've been busy. I'll reply to your messages for yesterday. I hope you're good, mate. We've had crappy weather down here. Oxlade-Chamberlain, let's get into that one. Oxlade-Chamberlain would be an excellent signing even if he's half fit. It takes him a few weeks to get up to scratch. Well, I think he's up to scratch physical-wise. Having that experience in the dressing room is invaluable. I'm not too sure if it's invaluable, but it would definitely give us something else in midfield where we are getting bullied. I think we all know that. But who do you see? The interesting thing for this one is, has Oxlade-Chamberlain been brought in for the European game, or will he be brought in and put into the European squad for the game against Stuttgart? And who do you leave out? Now, Johnny Kenny's left the team. He was in the squad. So that opens up one space. So I'm not sure if there's 3 or 4 spaces now available for the European competition. It's going to be an interesting one. If you want to make allowances for travel and lights, why don't they arrange a boycott for further down the line? Oh, it's Sterling as well for his experience. He's only 31. I will leave it at Tati. It's an interesting one. Yeah, according to the mainstream media outlets down in London, it's even on the BBC, so it has to be close. It has to be close because it is the London media that are saying Celtic are understood to be on the verge of securing a deal for Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain and are keen to finalise an agreement within the next 24 hours to ensure he can be registered for their upcoming Europa League squad. But there we have it. Celtic want him in the Europa squad. Who do you drop out of midfield? Serious question. Maybe that should be in the poll question. Who would you drop out the midfield to? I'd drop Rio Hatate out, to be fair. If I'm dropping anyone out of the squad, it's Hatate. The unattached midfielder has attracted strong interest from Parkhead as he searches for his next destination. There was no requirement for Celtic to expedite the matters before the transfer deadline, given the fact that free agents can be registered at any point. He's been maintaining his fitness with his former club Arsenal, and reports indicate that he prepared to remain close to London following the birth of his second child. However, it is now believed he is enthusiastic about the prospect of joining the Scottish Premiership champions. After speaking to Joe Hart, etc., Joe Hart would say, mate, it's 3 months, man. Do you know what I mean? It's February, March, April, going to May. We're already into February. Do you know, you're talking about March, April, May, 3 months of your life. You'll have the time of your life with some fantastic supporters boycotting and shouting, sack the board. And if you'll get a game in Europe. So maybe Hatate as a sub at present anyway. Needs to be Engels or Benji. But you need to leave someone out of the squad. You have to leave someone out of the squad and put in. We can allow someone to come out the squad and someone to come in. I think, I don't know. Any worried about Oxlade-Chamberlain? It's yesterday. He hasn't had a bad injury in 2 years. Martin O'Neill seems keen on him coming. Can't drop Ernie. Arnie is 25 million now. I know. Can't wait to Arnie Engels next game. The first comment to come up. Arnie Engels is pish. He's worth 25 million, mate. Bernardo. Nicholson is a useless agent in disguise. He can F off. He's a puppet for Dermot Desmond. That's all I'm saying on it from now on. He is a puppet for Dermot Desmond. And until you get rid of Dermot Desmond, you're not going to. Dermot Desmond will just bring in the next line of puppets. Dermot Desmond is the reason that Dominic Mackay left Celtic. It was kind of forced out. It's looking like it, John. So hopefully it does. I mean, we do need something else in midfield. Hopefully, he plays the holding midfield position to allow Callum McGregor to go further forward, or do you leave Callum McGregor in the holding midfield position and allow Oxlade-Chamberlain to get the free run? It's an interesting one. The deadline is Thursday evening. It's tonight, so we have to have a decision today. So we will know today because Celtic have to put in the squad for the next European game against Stuttgart, who incidentally won 3-0 last night. 3-1, 3-0 makes it sound like it was a great game for them. It wasn't. Watched a bit of it last night, and I think that Stuttgart are there for the taking. They scored a goal on the break. The defender's got no pace, and the winger took the defender for the halfway line. 1-on-1 when the keeper gets it past the keeper. The third goal was a shambles of a goal in defending. Jota not played for a year, we'd welcome him. Jota's not fit, and Jota's not going to make the squad for Europe. But anyway, he's only an hour flight down the road for his family. And it's only 3 months. Exactly, and I think that's what Joe Hart would say to him. You know, guys work offshore and all the rest of it. What will the boycott really accomplish, if anything? You can go into Twitter and you can see what they say. Martin O'Neill brought in an injury hampered Hartson with a dodgy knee. Look how that worked out. And if you'd listened to the interview last night with Martin O'Neill and Chris Sutton, he did say as well that he brought in. Oh no, that I was talking about. He was talking about a certain striker at Celtic, didn't he? And he says that I'm not being funny, but I did say that there was a bit of Chris Sutton, a bit Pierre Van Hooijdonk, about Big Tom the Czech. And Martin O'Neill said it last night. He kind of reminds me of a little bit of Chris Sutton, which is good. Shows you that I do have a bit of an eye for a player after all. Just don't talk shite. We have built a team for Europe. Phil Martin can take us all the way. That would be truly fitting. Oh, let's not get ahead of ourselves, because we're now third in the league after the game postponed last night. And listen, we might ended up third in the league anyway if we didn't score more goals than Rangers last night, because until last night we were level on points. I won't bore you with the league table. I think that we all know the league table, and it's onwards and upwards. I still can't believe that game was called off. It's unbelievable. But I think that they had to try and stop us somehow, didn't they? And it was the only way that they could really stop us. Let me jump back onto this poll. It's an interesting one. Because I am seeing people that go to games saying, "I'm going in. I've spent the money. I've bought the ticket. I'm going to go in." It'll be an interesting one because it is just a cup game. Stuttgart goes straight late in the game, Baz. Every time I've watched them, they have a late push for goals. Yeah, I wasn't overly convinced with them last night, mate. And I'll be honest, I did say that the second goal that Stuttgart scored, it was a quick ball out for defence, out to a winger. The other team were pushing up. They left a defender 1-on-1 with a guy with pace. Celtic wouldn't play like that. Celtic always, if anything, when it comes to corners and stuff, Celtic will leave someone with a bit of pace at the back. So at 1-0, I didn't think that Stuttgart were away from home for a team that were shite. Let's say it. I mean, it was a daft wee stadium, but the third goal, could the home team done any better for that? I'm not too sure. They might have done. They might have done. But anyway, this congestion fixture list coming is brutal. 10 games in 21 days. We really need to be rotating max. Yeah. How much do you think? I think that the Dundee game this weekend, I think you might see a big bit of squad rotation coming in for the Dundee game. But we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. And then Martin O'Neill, the big bit of the news last night really was Martin O'Neill was unconvinced at the recruitment. Hence the reason that the recruitment took a bit longer. The people that were coming in under Tisdale just didn't cut the mustard. And I'm kind of glad that Tisdale got the sack in and Martin O'Neill did come in and looked at these players and went, it must have said that, I mean, Sean Maloney was still at the club at that point, so I think that Sean Maloney must have had doubts about some of the players that Celtic were bringing in, and he's obviously said to Martin O'Neill, said, "Look, Gaffer, I don't think that you're going to fancy these players. I just don't think that they're going to be right for Celtic." But we'll wait and see. Back Martin, back the team all the way. The time for negativity is done, says Scott, who will be going into the game by the looks of it. Do you think the Chamberlain brought in allow one midfielder to leave in the summer? Mate, he's only going to be brought in on a short-term contract. He'll only be given the contract to the end of the summer. And I think that's the only way that he would take it. You never know. Celtic might pull it out the bag and sign him for longer term. Joe Hart might convince him. Is he a replacement for Arne Engels in the summer, which you were kindly alluding to? I think that Arne Engels will be in the summer anyway. I think that we'll lose Arne Engels in the summer. I think that we'll lose Rio Hatate in the summer. I think we'll lose Daisen Maeda in the summer. I think there's a possibility we might lose Yang in the summer. That one may sway. And then you look at all the players that's been put out on loan. You're going to lose them in the summer. You're talking about in the summer, we're going to have to bring in 5, 6, 7 first team starters, not just squad players. But that's a way down the road. We're going to have to forget about that just now. Yeah, this guy seems to be. James Whale Walker's had his part to play with Sean and Martin in this terms. I think so, yeah. I definitely think so. Going by the players that have came into the club and the fact that, you know, one player decided that he didn't want to come to the club, he wanted to stay and fight for his team and make sure that they got promoted. Yeah, we're going to lose Casper in the summer. Casper won't get a new contract. So we either have to promote a younger keeper and then put our trust in Sinisalo and Ross Doohan. Ross Doohan had a good season up in Aberdeen last year, kind of, as a goalkeeper. Do you know what I mean? But So you're saying that Joe Hart was over the hill? He wasn't the best, but I mean, Casper, when he first came to the club, was known as Clean Sheet Casper. Other than that, he's talking about 2 players. Midfield rebuild in the summer. I would take Ox to the summer. It's not just a midfield rebuild. I think that we're going to have. Look at all the players that are on loan. I mean, Sriracha will go back. It's bonkers. 3 of the 6 loans will cost us 14 million. Start if they're worth keeping. Casper is finished. Forest is finished as well in the summer. Summer could be a nightmare. The board kicked the ball into the long grass. Think of Oxlade. That's a great bit of business from Martin. I think I forget. I think it could be, but it depends if he's well. We will know by, I would say, 5 o'clock today, because the team needs to be posted to UEFA this evening. The deadline for that is this evening, a fortnight before the first leg at Parkhead. So it's interesting. Does Mavuka get added to the squad? Does Adamu get added to the squad? Does Benji Arthur get added to the squad? Rojo, does he get added to the squad? Big Tam gets added to the squad because you've lost Johnny Kenny, and someone will say that's a godsend. I think it's a good bit of business putting Kenny out on loan to the end of the season, personally. But he was never meant to be here. Like I've reiterated. The summer will be a big window for us, but I think we'll bring in Coutson as manager, who knows how to recruit a player for a rebuild job. Do you think that Coutson will see Celtic as a 3 or 4 year project? Because ultimately that's what we need. We need a manager that will see us as a 3 or 4 year project and not just a stepping stone to the English Premier League. Because ultimately that's what every manager does, apart from Neil Lennon. Do you know Big Ange came in, stepping stone. Brendan Rodgers came in to rectify his reputation, to then go to Leicester. Do you know, it's an interesting one. Aaron Moy, he was okay, right? Yeah, Aaron Moy was this. Will Alistair Johnson be ready for Europa? No, Chris, he won't. It's the end of March that he's going to be ready. So Adamo was in the Barca Academy. That means nothing really. But you never know. Ada Rojo and Big Tam and one of the other ones. Coutson would love a project like Celtic. And and that's true. I mean, we do have a couple of his players now, don't we? Players that he had at Bodo Glimt. And it's funny how things work out, because the ones that we chased for a long time, as in a striker, we never ended up getting them. But we get some of the other players that ultimately beat Celtic in Europe. But anyway, Coutson isn't Bodo. We need to acquire the full club to be successful, not just the manager. Yeah. Morning to Steve Johnson, the Motherwell manager. For me, as Coutson won't come. You've got to ask the question. What makes you think that the Motherwell manager would come? Motherwell manager may see it as a bigger project to try and do damage at the top of the SPFL table. They have aspirations. They don't want to sell their best players. And when you look at the table, do we look at the table? Oh, I mean, Hibernian have moved up. I mean, the top six looks like it's starting to take place, isn't it? And it's like Falkirk. Falkirk are going to be that team that hits top six. Unless something dramatic happens. Let's look at the fixtures until the split. There's obviously cup games this weekend. Scottish Cup games this weekend, and then we'll return to action for the league. And then when you look at the league action, Tuesday the 10th of February, Hearts Hibs. Hibs don't have the best. Don't know. There's not often that they win at Hearts. When Hibs win, they generally win at home. If that one was a draw, it'd be fantastic. Because the next night Celtic play Livingston, Wednesday the 11th of February. Dundee United versus Aberdeen. Take Dundee United to win that one. Where Aberdeen are going. Falkirk versus Dundee. Take Falkirk for that one. Kilmarnock versus St Mirren. I take St Mirren for that one. Motherwell versus Rangers at Motherwell. That will depend if a certain club gets their penalty in 3 minutes and they're sending off for Motherwell. That's all that I'm saying on that. And then we're going to Saturday, February the 14th. Dundee versus Livingston, Falkirk, Dundee United, Hibernian, St Mirren. That's a tidy one for Hibernian and St Mirren. I think that's one of the hardest ones to call that weekend. And then we're going to the Sunday because of the midweek games. Kilmarnock versus Celtic. I'm taking Celtic to win that one, unless it's strangely called off because the plastic pitch is flooded. And then you've got Motherwell versus Aberdeen. I would take Motherwell to beat Aberdeen at home. And then you've got Rangers Hearts later on. So that gives Celtic that little bit of a couple of hours. Well, not really a couple of hours, but in between the games. But it does give Celtic that little bit of impetus to put pressure on. Now, the downside of that Kilmarnock game is the buses that come out of the north of Ireland, they will not be allowed to go to that game because Rangers play at home. Go figure. They're not allowed on the ferries. In this day and age, 2025, they're still not allowed to go on the same ferries. You can understand why. But it just shows you that division is right still on our doorsteps. Do you know that fans' buses will not get to games, and you're talking about hundreds of fans, hundreds, maybe even into the thousands coming over from there. No buses. No, it's probably about 6 buses or something. I'm not too sure. Couldn't tell you. But anyway, then we're going to Saturday the 21st of February, Aberdeen versus Dundee. I think Aberdeen would beat Dundee. Dundee United versus Kilmarnock. Dundee for that one. Hearts versus Falkirk. That's tidy because it's at home. I think Hearts will win that one. It'll be close. It will be close. And then St Mirren versus Motherwell. I'm taking Motherwell to win that one. And then we get on to the Sunday, the 22nd of February, Celtic versus Hibs, and Livingston entertain Rangers. With another ex-Rangers player in the management team. Another ex-Rangers player in the management team. Couldn't make it up, can you? And by then, you will kind of know if Celtic have had a successful month or not. 28th of February, last weekend of the month. Celtic don't play until the Sunday, which is the 1st of March, but you've got Dundee versus Hibs. I take Hibs to win that one. Falkirk versus Kilmarnock. Take Falkirk to win that one. Hearts Aberdeen at home. I take Hearts to win that. Aberdeen might get a draw at that one. Aberdeen are always up the ante when they play Hearts. And Hearts might be fucking squeezy bum time by that time. But Hearts, if they play the way that they normally play, you would take it for a win. Livingston versus St Mirren, I take St Mirren that one. Motherwell versus Dundee United, I take Motherwell for that one. Rangers versus Celtic. Let's see how we play over the next couple of weeks because they're not a great team, but they're getting by. with a lot of help with their friends. And then it takes us into the full month of March. You've got Aberdeen, Falkirk, Celtic, Motherwell. That's the biggie. That's the biggie that weekend, isn't it? Because St Mirren have got entertained Rangers, and that's not an easy game for Rangers. Do you know? It's not an easy game for them at all. Kilmarnock versus Hearts. I think Hearts will be done and dusted with that game. I think. Into the end of March, Dundee United versus Celtic. Dundee United versus Celtic. I'd take Celtic for that one, an away win. Again, Falkirk versus St Mirren. I'd take Falkirk for that. Might be a draw, that one actually. Hearts versus Dundee. That's a Hearts win. Kilmarnock versus Livingston. It's Kilmarnock win, I'd say. Motherwell Hibernian. That's a tidy one because those two are completely fighting it out with each other. And then you've got Rangers Aberdeen. Now, historically, Aberdeen always put up a good fight when they go down to Ibrox. Can they get the upset? Or will Celtic beat Dundee United, which will put a little rocket up Ibrox? But they are at home, and I would take that as a Rangers win. Then we go into April, running down the clock here. Dundee versus Celtic. I'll take that as a Celtic win. Hibernian Kilmarnock, Hibernian win. Livingston versus Hearts. I'll take that as a Hearts narrow win. Motherwell versus Falkirk. Oh, that one could be a draw, but a Motherwell win. Rangers versus Dundee United at Ibrox. They seem to get a lot of home games towards this part of the season. Could be close, but I think Rangers will win that one. St Mirren versus Aberdeen. I think St Mirren will win that one. Aberdeen didn't seem to do so well, in my opinion. And then we get down to the last weekend before the split. And this is when you'll know how close the league is going to be, because I think it's going to go all the way right to this weekend. I don't think that there'll be any team way out in front by 6 points. I think that the three teams at the top of the table will still be close. And some people say that, well, that's great for Scottish football. Aberdeen versus Hibernian, big game. Aberdeen will be fighting to try and get into the top 6 at that point still, I think. Hibernian will be trying to cement their place in the top 4, I think. And then you've got Celtic versus St Mirren. Celtic win that one. Physical game, but Celtic will win it. Dundee United versus Livingston. I would take Dundee United to win that one. Falkirk versus Rangers at Falkirk Stadium. That could be a tricky one for Rangers. That could be a really tricky one. And then you've got Hearts versus Motherwell. Oh, there's so much. So, I mean, that's the day. If you're a neutral fan, that's the day to be watching the watch along on this channel, because we will have all the score lines running up, and we'll have the league table live as well. So if you're into watch alongs, Saturday the 11th of April is going to be a cracker, just because of all the games kicking off at 3 o'clock. So make sure that you stay tuned for that one if you're not at Celtic Park. If there's maybe a boycott still going on, I don't know. But Hearts Motherwell, that'll be a tidy game, because if Motherwell take any points off of Hearts, and then we go into the split, and then how will the split look? I think the split will be, I don't put it in, I'm not going to put it in who's going to be top of the table, because by that point that may have changed 2 or 3 times. The top 3 will be Hearts, Rangers, Celtic, or Celtic, Hearts, Rangers. We'll put it in alphabetical order, just saying. And then the bottom 3 of the top 6, I think, will be Hibernian, will be Motherwell, Hibernian, then Falkirk. I don't think that Falkirk, I think Falkirk have done enough this season to cement their place in the top 6. They're well enough in front of Aberdeen right now. And to be honest, I don't see Falkirk dropping enough points that Aberdeen would manage to overtake them. So I think that the top 6 and the bottom 6 is starting to look as if the way it's going to go. Livingston, they look like they're going down. Kilmarnock, they will be the whipping boys as well. They will go into a relegation playoff. Hopefully this will be the season that Kilmarnock go down, because I don't like it as a club. It's a fantastic away game. It is one of the better away games for guys that go to the game. It's one of the bigger allocations for it. I just noticed that I'm in front of the table. I'll put me there. Apologies about But then the bottom six, yeah, it looks as if that could be it. But anyway, and then that's us getting towards the end of the season, and then we'll cry and weep and go into a mad depression until the World Cup starts. Uh, um, one game at one game at a time and concentrate ourselves. Yeah, we need to concentrate ourselves one game at a time. But at the end of the day, it's what will be, won't it? And I think that we do have a good title race on our hands. Celtic still have that game to play. Well, it's looking tidy. Anyway, right, how long have I been on? I've been on for longer than I was going to be this morning. Let's get back onto this one. Get Huns off the channel. Is there a Hun on the channel? I've not even seen the comment, to be honest. Ox would be good for us in the middle of the park. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, there's nobody can be confident at this moment and say nobody can turn around and say that they will win. They will win the league. Like Martin O'Neill said, it's Hearts' league to lose. Anyway, right, that is me done and dusted this morning. I will be back later on this afternoon. Um, I will be back on this afternoon as soon as we hear any information about the fact that we may have signed a certain player from down south, because that has to be done today, and I'm sure Celtic will announce it with great fanfare. So it means he has to travel. He has to have made the announcement. He has to have made the decision with his family last night. He will have to travel up to Glasgow today, and Celtic will have to put his name in for the European competition. At least we're in the European competition. Just saying. On that note, well, a fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world.